Alright guys, let's check out the update that is coming out. This is going to be coming out alongside the Gauntlet. We have brand new legendaries coming out in Season 3. So, let's kick it off with what most people want to see. The brand new legendary. So, just as a heads up, this comes out March 5th, but the patch notes just literally came out at this second. So let's check it out and give you guys my analysis of them. So starting right off, as far as the vampiric powers go, we have of Accursed Touch. So this makes it so it's a lucky hit. You have a 20 to 35% chance to inflict a vampiric curse on the enemies. Enemies afflicted by vampiric curse are also vulnerable. And then it says vampiric curses stored souls deal some increased damage. So I'm guessing this would just give it to you. You may have to run another thing to actually apply some of the souls to actually deal the damage. But next up, as far as this goes though, here's my analysis. This is excellent and one of the best things that you can throw on a sorceress unless you're one-shotting everything anyways. This is a huge improvement for vulnerability on the sorceress class. Next up though, as far as metamorphosis goes, when you evade, you get to turn into a cloud of bats, you get to become unstoppable, and then enemies along your path take physical damage are inflicted with a vampiric curse, and then evade's cooldown though is going to be increased. So I'm guessing that this would be considered a huge nerf. Now there are some items like the flicker step that can actually reduce your cooldown on attack, so it might not be that bad considering you could still basically spam it. So you can still be 100 permanent unstoppable, but you kind of have to sacrifice your boot slots for that if you want to be able to do it. So it could still be pretty good though for any build that needs to use Tybalt and then gaining unstoppable. It's kind of nice to have, like Necromancer. There's not that many good sources of consistently proccing unstoppable. Next up though, blood boiling. When your core skill is overpowered enemy, you just spawn some volatile blood drops. Collecting a volatile blood drop causes it to explode, dealing physical damage around you. Now this damage was basically memes. This is what you want it for. Every 20 seconds, your next skill is guaranteed to overpower. So that's kind of nice to actually have. This could actually open up the doors for one-shotting potential for classes that normally don't have overpower like the Rogue and the Sorceress. If you really want to try to mess with it, yeah, you can go ahead and combo this with, let's say, the Banished Swords Talisman, and you can get some extra bonus to your overpower multipliers. But for the most part, yeah, Barb and Druid, like Pulverized Druid, can make use out of this. And then Hectic, every 5 basic skills you cast, one of your active cooldowns is reduced. This could actually be pretty interesting. Maybe Arclash Sorceress could make some use out of it. I know some people were messing around with one of the new, like Pain Gorger, I think is what it's called. There are these new, like, gloves that are for basic attacks. Maybe you can do some fun stuff with Claw Druid, and then you can have a lot more cooldown. And then we have Undying, so casting skills heal you for 0.5 to 2% life, and an additional 1% life while you are below 50% life. Oh, they actually changed this. This was supposed to be doubled. That is a pretty big nerf considering you could have doubled it if you put it on your amulet, getting what, like 3.5% and then getting total of 7 if that becomes doubled. So from what they showed off at the campfire, they are already nerfing the stuff before it even comes out, because I'm pretty sure this was supposed to be doubled and they showed it off as doubled. So take this one with a grain of salt because they showed off what the item looked like in the campfire. So if it doesn't have this though, I mean, it's still a pretty nice thing to have, to be honest. Next up, of the Moonrise, so damaging enemy with a basic skill grants us 4% attack speed for 10 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. And upon reaching the maximum stacks, you get to go into a vampiric blood rage and gain 40 to 80, and I believe this is X multiplicative basic skill damage and 15% movement speed. Again, same thing with the previous one, Arclash. Maybe you can mess around with Claw. That could be interesting to mess around with and have some fun with, but let me know what you guys think of the legendaries. Now, as far as balance updates, it's Ring of the Starless Skies. So it now shows a buff. Okay, cool. Penitent Greaves. Oh, that's kind of nice. A nice little buff, giving us up to 5x damage. Now, if you have ones already, as far as I'm aware of, these do not actually get changed. You're going to have to get some brand new ones. Tactics of the Dawning Sky, the maximum res got increased. These items, and I've mentioned it as a Diablo partner, these items are so overly underwhelming. Like, same thing with like the Soulbind chest piece that everyone throws on the ground from getting on Duriel. These items are so bad in the game, and since the Gauntlet's coming out, there's really no need to go for even more max res, because I believe it's, what, 125 as far as the monster level. This item, it's clear that they don't understand what makes an item good. So, Tactics of the Dawning Sky, unfortunately, even with this buff, memes. It's just basically just more trash. Mother's Embrace resource refund got increased. You get 50% resource back. Now, unfortunately, most of the rings in the game, you kind of want some other stats on it, but that is a nice little change. Now, will anyone run it? Probably not. Again, this is like a thing where, like, you have to make it actually worthy. If this was changing the, maximum res to where you become immune to damage for very specific boss fights, that would still see some very niche play. You could buff this number up to infinite numbers. It does not matter because people still won't want to use it because, well, in the pants slot, Tibalt's is just beyond better than really anything. Now, as far as defenses go, you have way better options. You have a bunch of different damage reduction modifiers that you want to try to shoot for versus getting your max res, because it, again, there is a max res cap. Like, even if you have, 99999, it doesn't really matter too much in terms of resistance unless it breaks the cap, which I believe this breaks the resistance, but there still is like an internal cap in the game. So again, I would say that doesn't matter. Next up, though, legendary aspects of Inner Calm. This got increased. Well, that's actually pretty surprising that you can do more one-shot rogue combos now. It was already good enough, but nonetheless, of Retribution, the stun chance got increased and damage to stun enemies got also increased. Starlight, the amount of life needed to gain resource changed from 25 to 20. Okay, this is actually a pretty good thing, because this actually got basically a huge buff. It's like when you get to heal for, like, now it's 20%, you get to gain, like, I don't know, it's like 40 or something, like, resource. It's kind of nice. So let's check out the Barbarian buffs, and it's funny because they really should have got nerfed if they were trying to balance the game. So as far as Barbarian goes, they added some extra fury and some more damage to the basic skills. It's basically a bunch of memes. I don't understand why this is a mid-season update to buff, like, the basic skills in the game. I know we are getting some stuff that has buffs basic skills, like for other builds, but overall, thoughts and analysis on this doesn't really matter. Most people at this point, we're in the mid-season, you're not leveling up with your basic skills. Strategic ground stop doesn't matter. If you really want your ultimate cooldown, you run flicker step or other options. Then we have strategic iron skin, so that's okay. The skill was seeing some play, and then the bonus damage of this, but everyone's pretty much running Wrath of Berserker. Triple shouts, that's kind of how Barbarian's been. Passives, the Endless Fury. So the Fury gained got increased over here. But on top of that, Paragon, the Executioner Glyph. Previous, while wielding a polearm, we get to do 10x damage to healthy or injured. Next is while wielding a polearm, you deal just 10, so it doesn't have that requirement anymore. And then legendary aspects of the Iron Warrior. So the damage reduction got increased over here. So nice little, what is that, 7%. The unique item Gores, I talked about this previously when they revealed it. The thing that made Gores good before was you can infinitely stack it. Because you have to lose out on so many other key stats and a legendary power, it still becomes absolutely worthless as far as I can tell. Now, there is another bonus to damage increase, and since we're going from 2 to 3 to 3 to 4, well, I believe at the higher end, that means, this is the base roll, by the way, that means another +6, which is same as, like, there's shadow gloves that the rogue can get. So overall, it's 20% more base damage for Warren, and Warren has very high crit. Are you going to be playing this over Hoda Barbarian? Probably not if you're looking to min-max. Next up, though, Druid, Earth Spike. So we got extra Spirit Gen, so it's the same thing with Barbarian. Barbarian and Druid have kind of suffered in the earlier game stages, but they have been getting consistent buffs, so overall, it is a good change, but this is like more at the beginning of a season versus in the middle of a season, right? Because we're here to do the Gauntlet. So anyways, as far as Claw, Claw got a base damage increase. Oh no, it's, yeah, base damage increase by 15 and Spirit Gen. So again, if you want to rank a basic attack build, this is cool. I still kind of like it, but again, this is very, very niche to build like basic builds towards the middle of the season. Enhanced Maul, so Fortify got increased. And then the Wolves, the passive damage got increased, and then Poison Creepers, and then Ravens. Now, there is supposed to be an aspect that gives you, like, 180% increased bonus damage for one of, like, the Wolves with it, like, it's like a little thunderstorm that happens. So that actually might be a pretty big build to emerge out of this, and we'll get to that maybe as we scroll down. So passives, Quick Shift, the damage got increased. The Bestial Rampage, bonus damage on Werebear, so this got increased. Ernstine Strength. Also got an increase in Perfect Storm. The bonus damage has increased from 15 to 20. So overall, nice little buffs for the Druid. There was one Druid passive that didn't work, though, and it doesn't seem like it's even in here. There's a passive that was supposed to give you some more damage, and it's additive instead of multiplicative, but nonetheless, that has not gotten fixed. As far as legendary aspects go, the Seismic Shift, so previous Earth Spike launches in a line, and then it has a cooldown. Now it deals 50% bonus damage, spikes in a line, and it has a 2 to 1 second cooldown. So just you basically get up to 50% bonus damage with that. Cool stuff. And then with the unique item Storm's Companion, there it is. Ranks of Wolves increase from 2 to 3 to 3 to 4. Again, this should be able to go to 6 then. So Storm Hell damage is increased by 180. So this is our first, I would say, newer build, because with Barbarian, I didn't really see anything here that would be like a brand new build, because Gores still has an internal cap. If Gores had no internal cap, this is awesome, and I love the change, because that's how it was at launch, and it got nerfed so incredibly fast, and a lot of people never got to experience how cool that unique was. So as far as it goes, at least Druid has a new maybe build out of this mid-season update. So that's cool. And then Necromancer, let's check out the update. So Skeleton Warrior, the damage got increased by 30. The life got increased. Skeleton Reaper, damage increased, life increased. Frost Mage, damage increase, life increase. Skeleton Mage, damage increase, life increase. Skeleton Sacrifice Mage, damage increase, life increase. Golem, basic attack, damage increased by 30. And our basic attack increased by 30, life 20. Alright, so here's how I feel about Necromancer. Necromancer has always been in a really bad spot, with the exception of when the game was in the beta state for the Summoner Necromancer. I don't know why. They can go to certain classes, and this is something that I really want to see with the Necromancer in the next season or relatively soon. A lot of people want a Summoner build for the Necromancer, and unless you have Ring of the Menelin, the minions are absolutely terrible in the game. We can easily see that if you go to something like Charge and go plus 900% base damage on Charge, it becomes meta and good. How come they can't just go, okay, minions, we'll throw the final key passive, minions get like a 900% or something like that. They need some crazy number to make it actually playable, and the AI needs to be a lot better, specifically in the aggressive department. If you guys have played Diablo 2 or any minion build, it doesn't matter if you're playing Wolcen, doesn't matter what action RPG you play, these minions do not function. That is the biggest thing when it comes to just being aggressive and attacking things. They can make it a legendary aspect. Your minions are super aggressive and attack on sight. They kind of wait around for things to happen, and I think that that is something that is massively different. Even in Diablo Immortal, the AI is just so much better for the minions. So they need to really fix up the AI, making it so it's super aggressive, because the Necromancer is already slow on its own. There should be a passive here, though, that increases the speed of the Necromancer, which is definitely a welcome thing. So I'm going to criticize the game when it needs to be, but if they do good stuff, obviously, yes, Necromancer will be moving faster, so we'll check that out in a second. But yeah, I think they just need some crazy multiplier as like a quick little fix, and then you can make some legendaries that maybe all of your minions merge into one giant skeleton warrior, and he's like, you know, King Leoric. It could be like the Ring of Leoric, and it just absorbs all of your minions, kind of like the Abomination in Last Epoch. But just some sort of way to make minions viable without having to activate Ring of the Menelin, which requires you to consistently attack, and then your minions get to one-shot everything, and then they're back to tickling the enemies with a wet noodle. That's what I want to see in the Necromancer. Next up, though, with Blood Surge, the bonus damage per enemy drained got reduced, so it's a nerf, but the Nova damage got increased. Okay, so buff and or nerf. And then Supernatural Blood Surge, so damage bonus got increased, Sever damage got increased, returning damage increased, Enhanced Sever damage increased from 40. Like these are like a lot of buffs on Sever over here. And then Paranormal Sever, the vulnerability duration got increased, Blight, the impact damage and the damage over time got increased, Paranormal Blight. Immobilized duration, Supernatural Blight, the damage bonus got increased by 5x, and then damage increased by 21% over on Corpse Explosion. Okay, that's cool. Plague Corpse Explosion, the damage bonus got increased, and then Enhanced Bone Prism. The previous one made it so enemies inside Bone Prism are vulnerable. The new one is enemies inside Bone Prism when cast are made vulnerable for 8 seconds. Okay, so it's just like, so that way, even if it goes away, you still have it. That's good. And Blow Wave, the damage got increased. So, as far as Necromancer goes, does this mean people will stop playing Bone Spear over, you know, the other options that are now available? I want to still say, the way Bone Spear feels compared to, like, Blight or Sever having to go out and then just spamming stuff just feels way better than Necromancer. If you've ever tried running Blight with like X-Falls or any of those other builds, they feel a little bit less responsive in the time to kill. So overall, I want to say, I wouldn't say anything brand new has emerged out of this, but that is a big difference. I mean, we go from 40 to 75% of the initial damage, and then you also have some bonus damage over here. So maybe it's a little bit more damage, but the playstyle, again, is kind of what hinders, I would say, people from wanting to play the other builds. It's just less responsive. Next up, though, passives, the Death Approach. The name changed from Death's Reach. Okay, so used to do 4x damage to distance, and the new one is to gain more movement speed. So this is where I love this. This is exactly what Necromancer needed. Now, they still should have some sort of mobility skill. Like, they could literally copy and paste Blood Rush from Diablo 3. I would have been fine with that. But as far as this goes, this is a nicer change. Spiked armor, some more thorns. Are people playing thorns? Not really. It's more of a meme build. Although it's really good for leveling, I will admit that. Death's Embrace, the damage reduction to close enemies got increased over here, so a little buff there. Hellbent Commander damage bonus got increased over here, so that's great. And then Crippling Darkness. The lucky hit, Darkness skills have a chance to stun enemies. The new one is Darkness skills have a 15% chance to stun enemies for up to 3 seconds and deal 0.2 shadow damage to them. Okay, so a nice little buff over there. Then with Paragon, they're getting Paragon changes. So Cult Leader, Legendary Node, Bonus minion damage per 20% attack speed increase from 10 to 15. Okay. So that's good. And then the corporal glyph. So previous additional bonus, you and your minions deal 10x physical. New one is you and your minions deal 10x increased physical damage, and you gain 1% movement speed for each active minion. Okay, so they got double movement things. Okay, because this is something that I've been complaining about with the Necromancer. It's one of the reasons why that's the least class that I play, because it just doesn't have a mobility skill. I think in addition to that, I think that there should be some sort of like blood rush skill, or just have like the mist let us go faster instead of slowing us down. Anyways, next up, legendary aspects over here. The aspect of hardened bones. Damage reduction applies to the player in addition to their minions. Awesome. Blood-bathed aspect. Damage of blood surge echoes change from 60 to 50% less damage to 10 to 30% less damage. Ooh, that actually might be pretty decent over here, because we used to lose 50%, now we only lose 30%. But are you really going to do with the blood speakers thing? There's a blood speakers amulet, and it lets like the minions activate it, but it doesn't count towards like the next overpower, which I think is a really unfortunate thing. I really wish they actually did that. That would have been a nice addition to it. Okay, next up, we're in the Sorceress. Wow, we have so many things to go over. So Incinerate, the base damage got increased. Enhance Incinerate, so you got more burn damage with the burn radius. The destructive Incinerate, enemy damage reduced amount increased from 25 to 30. So this is a buff. So it like reduces the damage that you take, I believe, when you are using Incinerate. Then with greater Incinerate, the mobilized duration got increased. Hydra damage got increased. Ball lightning damage. Wait, ball lightning got a buff. Wow, I was not expecting that at all. But hey, that's cool. That only makes people happy, even if it's a small buff. People are like, oh sweet, my build's gonna be better. So props to them for like that. But as far as Hydra, is this going to be viable? And I would say it's kind of memes, unless you're doing some sort of fireball burn proc to like consume the burn. And even then, like at this point, we're doing so much damage. And the new Gauntlet's only 125 for monster level, so it probably won't matter. Hydra used to be really good when it would scale off the base health of the enemies, but that got nerfed like in Season 2. Next up, though, as far as my thoughts on the Sorceress with the Incinerate changes, Sorceress with Incinerate, if you've used the skill, it's just terrible because you have to hold still. That is a big problem. They can increase this by even double or triple, and I think people would still not be interested in playing this. At the end of the day, if you could move while using Incinerate similar to like Whirlwind, then I think we have an actual cool thing. They could have came out with a legendary aspect that lets you move while using Incinerate in an AoE circle. Basically, what I want is like a Whirlwind Incinerate. That would be cool. Or it shoots out in all directions and spins you. I don't know. Just something where you can move. Or if they said, while channeling Incinerate, your teleport has no cooldown. There we go. And then at that point, that's basically one of the things that we had kind of similar to Diablo 3, one of the sets that lets you basically teleport really fast. And the build feels really good. But to hold still in Diablo 4 is really bad. There's too many things where monsters die. There needs to be like 10 different explosions, and all those things can like easily one-shot you. And that's the main problem with Incinerate. You can have some extra damage reduction, but it's still going to do so much damage where if things like 2 or 3 things pop in, you have to move. And the problem also with Incinerate for feedback is that it has to ramp up in damage. So if you're constantly moving, you're losing out on your damage. So next up, as far as the passives go, Icy Veil, barrier duration got increased. Stab Freeze, the lucky hit chance got increased. Soulfire, after standing still for 1.5, our Pyromancy skills cost less mana. The new one is your Pyromancy skills cost less mana and deal increased damage. Double these bonuses after standing still for 2 seconds. Okay, that's kind of cool. So that's a nice buff. Avalanche damage got increased by 5%. Like, this doesn't make anyone super excited. If you maybe went from 40 to like 400%, people are like, ooh, okay. Now I'm interested in trying out something. But to give a 5% buff, sure, it's better than a nerf. But the point of a mid-season update is to add additional content to the game versus like, oh, I get a small thing. I mean, Incinerate change, like I said, I just don't think it's going to be necessarily good because people just don't like the skill. Even if you buffed it up just way higher. These numbers are not enough to make like a good player go, I want to play Incinerate. It's just not enough numerical numbers, at least on paper. Maybe we can test it out. Curious to know what you guys think of that. But anyways, Frostbite, the glyph, the damage reduction got increased, so I'm guessing that's a buff. Invocation over here, the damage reduction stacks got increased. The crit strike chance got increased on the stalagmite glyph. Enchanter glyph, damage per 5 intelligence got increased from 1.3 to 2%, so you get 10% now. And then the Conjurer glyph, damage per 5 int got increased from 2.6 to 3, maxing out 15. And then damage and mana regeneration got increased from 6.7. Like, what are these numerical stats? Like okay, we need to buff that Unleash glyph. I actually do like this glyph. It's pretty good. But to give a buff of 0.3 in a mid-season update, like double it, triple it, or like swap something out, like nerf some random thing and then buff something else to make it a more exciting patch than like 0.3 is the update. Like, these numbers do not make sense from a standpoint of getting people excited to come back. It is so backwards and baffling that this is the state that Diablo 4 is in when we talk about a mid-season update. Anyways, legendary aspects of Searing Gorge, the mana cost got reduced from 200, or from 100 to 200 to 75 to 125. And then of Overwhelming Currents, the chance got increased from up to 20 to 30 at the higher values. All right, as far as rogue goes, I've talked about this. So they wanted people to run things that weren't puncture. Now, the reason why puncture is so incredibly good in Diablo 4 is because puncture counts as a marksman skill that also uses your dagger, so it procs condemnation really easy. That's why people use it. And it also applies slow and vulnerability, which is a crowd control effect, and it's just so much better. And there's 3 knives that shoot out. Each individual knife can actually proc a hit on your precision on its own. It cannot give you like max stacks via one cast, but each individual one can be considered its crit. So if one of them crits out of the 3, you get that crit for your precision. That's why it's so powerful, especially with this season. Now, having the extra damage or getting the increased attack speed over here, sure, that makes it a little bit faster, but like, and it makes the build feel better, but that's not the reason why people use basic skills on Rogue. It's basically for combo points and, again, condemnation. So, does this change anything? Probably not. Flurry, maybe... I really want them to side-by-side compare Flurry and Twisting Blades. If you compare those 2 melee skills, Flurry is just miles, and I mean miles behind what you can actually do with, unless you're doing proc Lucky Hit with Andarios, which is a very niche build that's an uber unique, and still, it's pretty mediocre. So, as far as this goes on Flurry, this is memes. Just, I mean, if they added way more. Okay, hold on. Let's not sign them out yet. We got improved Flurry. If Flurry hits any vulnerable enemy, it will make all enemies hit by that cast vulnerable for 3 seconds. Okay, that was the old one. The new one is 20x increased damage to vulnerable enemies. If it's any vulnerable enemy, it will make all enemies hit by that cast. Okay, so basically 20x on top of 10x. So 30x is an okay start. If you guys want to know the numbers I ran back when, I think this was in the 22 copy of the game, when I first uploaded the solo world boss of me using, it was Flurry and Twisting Blades. Now, the difference in damage is like 5 times the damage. Now, things have changed because there's some nerf with Twisting Blades, but back when, you know, I actually tested that out, and I don't think they've really buffed Flurry since then. They've only nerfed like the cooldown on Twisting Blades. That, like, you would need to add, again, it's like 5 times damage. And I'll explain why. This is kind of more advanced, but I think it's very important to explain why Flurry is so bad compared to Twisting Blades. So the animation of the Twisting Blades is damage, damage, damage. This is how Flurry works. Damage. Damage. It has to register 4 hits, and on paper it sounds like it does more damage because I believe it's 60 per hit, like 60% of your damage per hit, so it adds up. But it's because the animation is so long that you could actually just spam Twisting Blades and you get way more DPS. But let's see the rest of Flurry, okay? So Advanced Flurry, the previous evading through an enemy will cause your next Flurry to stun enemies for 2.5 seconds. That was the old one. The new one is evading through an enemy will cause your next Flurry to deal 30x increased damage and stun enemies for 2.5. Here's the thing with this. If I am evading through an enemy, remember the bosses, you're not going to be able to... well, it's your next Flurry. If it said the next, like, the next 5 seconds, because it just says it's just your next Flurry. So that's the one cast of it. If it said the Flurries for the next 2.5 seconds, we would maybe be looking at somewhat of a good, like, multiplier, because these are like, this is basically one aspect. This is like half an aspect over here. So well, I'll test it out. This could actually probably do pretty decent damage, but again, that's for your next one Flurry. And again, the whole stun on a boss, well, you're not going to be able to do that until you build up the stagger bar anyways, but okay. Rapid fire, the damage got increased. Random arrows damage got increased. Okay, kind of a surprise, but I'll test out Flurry for you guys, but honestly, I don't think it's going to be anywhere near Twisting Blades, and right now everyone is so busy playing any precision build versus close quarters, which was really popular, and maybe if they buffed close quarters, that would have been awesome. And they decided to buff precision. Now, there is a huge nerf for Rogue, by the way. Any of you guys using crossbows with the... was it weapons mastery? That is actually getting nerfed. So you're actually losing, I don't know, like, apparently it was giving like 300% additive damage. It was crazy. It was some ridiculous number. So there's a massive nerf to a lot of the rogue builds. If any of you guys were using crossbows, you're going to be doing a lot less damage now. So maybe you can actually go back to running your Sky Hunters. So as far as Paragon goes, the infusion glyph, the cooldown reduction got increase from 0.5 to 1. I think this is this the one where you use imbuements or something like that? Anyways, legendary aspects, circling blades, the damage bonus got increased from 15 to 22 of branching volleys. The barrage over here, you used to have a chance for them to split. Now you get to increase the damage of them. In addition, barrage arrows have a 40 to 60% chance to split whenever they ricochet. So interesting enough, I believe this is the base. So if you were to throw this on a weapon, that's a 120% chance to split. Does that mean you get an additional arrow? If so, that could be kind of cool, but is it going to make it viable? No, because rapid fire is pretty much the go-to if you're looking to do any one-shot combos. And I would say most people probably prefer pen shot for clearing out trash mobs. And then rapid fire is superior in most cases for bosses because you have an extra multiplier. I believe it's called advanced rapid fire for a multiplier. Shadow Slash, the damage got increased. Ooh, wait, hold on. Shadow Slash, the damage got increased from 80 to 100% base damage to 200 to 300. Okay, so this could be something to like actually look at. I'm gonna I have to open up some sort of Diablo planner and check out what that legendary aspect actually is for. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll put some sort of note over here because I have to refresh on what that actually is. That could be pretty big. I mean, it's like 300% of what. It used to be 100. So unique items, Eagle Horn. The damage bonus got increased. Now, dang, dude, I really hope that we don't have to refarm this up. I hope this actually just makes the change over here because it's the part of the legendary power. When it's one of the legendary power effects, sometimes on updates, those move over. But if it's like increasing it's like a change, instead of getting crit damage, it gives you vulnerable damage. Those didn't change. But the unique power, sometimes they did change. So who knows, otherwise we're going to have a legacy variant of the Eagle Horn. So Eyes in the Dark, they've buffed this thing so many times, and this thing is still so bad. It needs to be able to infinitely activate until it kills an enemy. It doesn't if it hits like an elite or boss, it just goes away. It's like, the point of having it activate multiple times is to hit something really hard, right? And if it just hits it once, it's terrible. Anyways, Really Band of Trickery, the cooldown to summon a shadow decoy got decreased, and this thing is terrible. It doesn't do enough damage. The decoy can die at the higher end of the game. Yeah, I don't remember the exact build that I was playing, but it was pretty min-max in Season 2. And this hits for like 500,000 on a relatively min-max character. So getting additional damage doesn't really matter because you can just activate your other skills and you get more damage off of it. Now, it taunting the enemies, or I believe it taunts enemies and it explodes, that is kind of helpful in like the lower stages of content. If you're doing higher tier things, what happens is that thing just dies instantly. It doesn't have the ability to survive the hit, so it goes away. So I think that out of all of the items here that are the Malignant Rings, because this is what this is, the Malignant Ring on the rogue is absolutely terrible. It got literally the worst one, so hopefully they can adjust it. At least they... So, like, what I'm probably understanding is, like, for example, Incineroar, and I've actually talked to them about this as a partner, is, like, there are so many skills in this game that are so underutilized. And so, not only is it, like, probably feedback from, like, the Diablo partners, but it's also that they can look at the metrics in the game, and no one plays this at a high level, and it only drops at the end game. If this was, like, just a regular whatever, unique that you can get in, like, World Tier 1 while you're leveling, sure, that's fine. But if this is like the end game thing and you farm Marshawn for this, the Red Bang of Trickery actually has some of the best stats on a ring, which is like damage to, I think it's like crowd controlled enemies, and it's got crit, and it's got really good stats on it. But the actual legendary power, the unique power, is what makes it garbage. You can run something way better. It just needs to maybe have, like, if it had no cooldown, it actually might be kind of cool. So if they mess around with that, that would have been at least fun for the rest of the season. Again, this is mid-season. I'm not going to look at Rogue and be like, wow, I'm super excited to play Rogue. Other than, I'm going to look at this. But we'll try out Flurry as well. So Seneschal is actually getting nerfed, guys. So Poison no longer reapplies this. This is actually like a bug thing. You get like infinite damage with it. It was pretty crazy. Or it was close to it, because like there's another thing that you could stack with like Tempest. Okay, here, yeah, this no longer works. So Tempest could actually get infinite damage as well. It was more for in like the testing stuff, because most of the stuff would just die anyways. But as far as Poison goes, don't worry about this. It's not like a huge like nerf to it. So Bleeding got nerfed by 10%, and then the Burning Support, the bonus crit strike damage, got nerfed over here. Okay, unfortunate. And then player profiles. Players can equip skills are now displayed on their profile. The equipped items are now displayed on their header of profiles. Okay, so you can like see stuff a little bit better. And then a bunch of massive bug fixes. Issue with a guaranteed overpower. Oh wait, hold on. Are they gonna mention there was a Druid one over here? Is it on? Okay. Yeah. See, this is a massive nerf to Rogue. The Fiery Surge was not granting mana regen. Oh my gosh, things were not working. At least things are working, but man, the more that I look at this game and how many like crazy things are getting like patched out, like fix an issue where literally the passive was not working. Well, this was a good thing though. I actually wish this stayed in, but a lot of these things were not working at the launch, and like it's crazy that we're already in season 3. And remember, we had season 0, so this is like 4 seasons basically of a game, and things on the passive tree are now still getting fixed. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's better that it's getting fixed than not getting fixed, but it's just kind of baffling to me that the game released in this state. But okay, that looks pretty much like it's going to be it. So I'm curious to know, guys, what did you think of this massive Diablo patch? Now, it is pretty massive, but a lot of the stuff, like if I was like last season, I built every single character level 100. This season, I'll be honest, I've been playing a lot. Last Epoch, I got my Rogue to 100, and then kind of been waiting to hear about the Gauntlet. And after seeing it, yeah, we'll play it, we'll mess around with it. But if there was a bunch of brand new legendaries to get excited about, I would be more enticed to play. But do I want to build a brand new Druid without seeing how good the brand new thing is? No, because I'm going to wait to see if it's good. I'll wait for someone else to maybe shout out to Stormheart if he drops a build for Druid. I'll check it out. But for the most part, this is like the only thing that I feel like out of this maybe is going to be kind of fun to mess around with. Because again, even though you buff Incinerate like a huge amount, that skill is not fun to use, and it's not realistic to play for most players. Anyways, that's going to be wrapping it up. Man, those are massive, long videos. So if you made it to end, drop a like on it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. And if you guys want to sub to see the brand new Gauntlet gameplay when it does come out, we'll be streaming it. Will we push for rank 1 like we do in Diablo 3? Honestly, I don't have any Uber Uniques. I'm enjoying Last Epoch a little bit more, but we'll see. Maybe we'll do some pushings without Uber Uniques, but it's really difficult without the unique stones, as well as having any of the Uber Uniques, because they significantly increase your speed, as well as your like resources with like Stardust guys. But anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Let me know your thoughts down below. Peace out.